this is the third lesson in the JavaScript unit of work, and we'll focus on coding if statements in JavaScript. So what we're going to do is remember how to write a simple JavaScript function on a web page, and then understand how we can program if statements in JavaScript so that our programs can make decisions. So let's move over to the IDE and get coding. Okay, so here we are inside the IDE. You can see that I've already written a little bit of HTML on the left. We've got a paragraph tag that contains enter your age below. You can see that on the right hand side. Underneath that we've got two inputs. We've got an input box where you can see that the user could enter some data into that particular input field, and it's been given an ID of the word age, or the name age. Then we've got another input. This time it's of type button. You can see the submit button here, and when we press that submit button, what the code's going to try and do is run a function called barman. But at the moment we haven't got a function called barman. So in between our script tags, that's where we're going to enter our JavaScript function. So I'm going to declare the function by writing the word function. I'm then going to give it the name barman. I'm going to open up my brackets, close my brackets, and I'm then going to use some curly brackets inside where I'm going to actually enter the code for this particular function. So the first thing we need to be able to do is we need to be able to collect the value that's entered by the user into that input field. So to do that, I'm going to declare a variable, and I'm going to call it age, or perhaps user age. And I'm then going to write the following code: document dot get element by ID. Now the identification of this particular input field is age, so I'm going to write age in here. So I'm going to get the element by ID age, and once I've got that element, I'm going to pick out the value that is entered inside that field. So once I have gone into the document, or once I click the button, the code will look to the document, will try and get the element with the ID of age and get the value that is entered into that particular field, and then it's going to place it in a variable called user age. Now the next thing I need to do, once my function's got that value, is it needs to make a decision based on that value. Now if, and I'm going to put the condition that I'm going to be testing inside brackets, if age is greater than or equal to 18, then what I want my program to do is I want my program to create an alert, and it's going to display to the user, what drink can I get you? So this virtual barman is going to be asking the user for their age, and if their age is 18 or higher, then it's going to say, what drink can I get you? Now if it's not greater than 18 or equal to 18, then we obviously need to have an alert which will respond according to that particular condition. So inside our else clause, I'm going to write down the code to produce a different alert box, and this time the text is going to say, go home, you are not old enough. So as you can see, we've produced a virtual barman program. The user can enter an age and then press the button, and the function is going to act like the barman. It's going to look to see what age is actually entered. If it's greater than or equal to 18, the virtual barman's going to say, what drink can I get you? Otherwise it's going to say, go home, you're not old enough. Let's test to see if this works. Okay, so let's enter the age 18, and it says, go home, you're not old enough. Okay, I think I can see the problem. I've created a variable called user age, but I've actually tested it against a variable called age, of which there isn't one. So I'm going to just change this slightly. I'm going to run the code, and let's test again. 18, what drink can I get you? 17, go home, you're not old enough. Okay, so that looks like it's working fine. So here's an example then of producing a function which uses an if statement to make a decision based on data that it receives. So perhaps you could have a go at producing exactly the same code as you can see here. So you could replicate that, see if you can get an if statement working, or perhaps to challenge yourself, think of another situation where the user enters a value and then the program perhaps can respond differently depending on whatever value is entered by the user.